Is it worth becoming a teacher anymore? All right. This is a hard-hitting topic. A lot of my girlfriends are teachers. I was speaking to a teacher friend, and it's actually super handy because you're like, what do I do for this? What do I do for that? And I always love hearing their stories about other kids that are little shits, and it makes me feel better about my own.
Like teachers have really good gossip even just with other teachers too.
They do.
It's good.
And
it's
they are doing the Lord's work. So when I spoke to a girlfriend of mine who's a teacher the other day, she was saying something that really interested me. She said she has noticed a massive trend over the last 5 years, and that is that a lot of kids no longer say what they want to be when they grow up is a teacher.
Interesting.
I thought it actually blew my mind.
Yeah, because I feel like that's a common answer when I was a kid.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember when I was younger, the most common thing was like teacher, firefighter,
doctor.
mum, doctor.
Yeah.
Like the kind of main things is what you would say.
Yeah, like the things that you knew existed at that point.
Absolutely. But for many women, I would say growing up, the caregiving role was a huge one that you wanted to be. She said
100%.
apparently no longer. Of course, I took this little morsel of information and I went on a massive rabbit hole.
You thought, how could I stretch this out a little
I
bit?
just thought, I wonder if anybody else is as fascinated as me. Australian research found that early childhood educators are spending less than 30% of their day, less than 30%.
Wow.
Lordy, in uninterrupted interaction with kids because of admin, compliance, and workplace pressure. That is a very concerning stat. More than 3/4 are working about 9 unpaid hours a week.
Wow.
And over 2/3 say their workload is actively reducing care quality.
That's so hard too, isn't it? It's like we can't even be the teachers we actually want to be because there's so much other crap.
Exactly right. So then if we zoom out even further, about 60% of early childhood educators plan to leave the sector within the next 3 years, and almost every centre has lost educators in the last year. Australia needs something like 21,000 more educators just to meet demand. And this ties back into schools as well. So 8 in 10 teachers have considered quitting in the last 4 years. 9 in 10 report severe stress. About 70% say workload is unmanageable. So this no longer becomes a childcare conversation. This becomes a workforce conversation. This really got me thinking. Do you think that we have quietly changed what we expect from teachers and educators without really talking about it? Why are so many people leaving?
This is such an interesting one. The overwhelming feeling that I have towards teachers is that they've always been undervalued. And do you know what tends to happen in undervalued caregiving adjacent jobs is that we don't know half the work that they do. It's like another version of the invisible workload of motherhood, right? I feel like that's what our teachers are taking on in the workplace too. We don't even know what this extra work is that they're doing, but they're lumped with it anyway.
Yes.
We just think they're teaching our kids, but there's so much that comes with that we don't see.
But do we think that? Because the conversations that I've been having from friends that are teachers are all saying the same thing. We as parents are now expecting teachers to be psychologists, to monitor the behaviour and correct that behaviour of our children.
That's so true. That's a lot.
We're asking them to be mental health support.
Yeah.
We are asking them to do admin and compliance. And we are requiring them to have constant communication with us. So it's almost like there's like a middle man in the relationship with our child.
And you may have done this on purpose, but what you didn't even mention in that list was education.
Oh, my God, I didn't do that on purpose.
Oh, well, it was smart if you did.
I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, like what they're literally there to do is educate our kids, but with that comes so much extra responsibility.
When you lump all of that responsibility together, though, it's all lumped as admin, right? Because it's all the additional stuff that they're doing outside of their job. So when you think about school or childcare, what do you expect educators to actually handle now that maybe our parents didn't expect? Like, what do you think has changed to cause people to not want to do the job anymore?
Oh, well, you've brought up great points in that list. I think the main one that comes to my mind is having a sense of what my kids' mental health is like at school.
Yeah.
Because that's really important.
It is.
It's not that our parents wouldn't have thought of that, but mental health is so part of the zeitgeist now, and rightly so. But what extra support are schools being given so that they can actually look after kids' mental health? Because that should not fall on the shoulders of the teacher alone.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think this part probably hits working parents particularly because you're leaving your children in care, or you're in a situation where you're putting them in a centre where the staff turnover is out of control and you're thinking to yourself, what is going on at this centre that's making people leave?
Yeah.
But if you look across the board, no one's really wanting to be a teacher anymore.
Yeah, and if you love anyone that's a child, which everyone tends to have someone, whether it's a their child or not. Like
Yeah.
if it's a nephew, a niece, a friend's kid, like most of us, if we're lucky in life, love a little child. So this affects us all.
It does.
Like this is such a broad scale problem.
Yeah, and quality care is also becoming a problem. So if the education sector keeps struggling to keep staff, that affects the stability that we have for our children, the quality of care and education, which is a massive one, parent workforce participation, because they have to have a ratio. If they don't have the ratio, there's no spots.
Yeah.
And then obviously your stress levels at home. How much of your ability to function at work do you think depends on trusting your education provider? So whether that be childcare or school?
Oh, I've actually never thought about this question before, but I am going to say huge, like 90%.
Yeah.
Of like you can't feel happy about going off to work if your kids are miserable. It's just not possible. And if they're not looked after, or if you're like scared or worried or questioning the education or the educators in that, whether that be centre or school, if you're not trusting them to look after your children, that is like the place from which everything happens.
Yes. We released a bonus episode with Care for Kids about this exact topic, childcare. It was more of a Q&A. If you haven't listened, please do. But one of the things that Annika said from Care for Kids that really stood out to me is when we're asking or when we're touring childcare or schools, for example, don't revert back to the stock standard questions. Instead, what we should be asking is, what are you doing for your staff? Or
yes,
what programs do you have to ensure the well-being of your staff? How are you looking after your staff? Because I think that gives a far better indication as to the quality of care that essentially is going to be passed down to your children.
That's such a good question. And also, if you're a parent, you also know what a big role it is to care for and educate little kids.
Yes.
So you want to know that they're well looked after in order to give your kids the best.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to end on this one. If we see people, or if you're having conversations with your teachers, and we notice that people keep leaving these jobs, it's becoming a big societal issue. It is not just a parenting inconvenience. The question needs to be raised, and you probably need to think inward to, what are the expectations that we're placing on teachers?
Yeah.
And are we truly valuing their work?
This is such an interesting question to end with, Lozzie, because in everything you've said, I've thought about mums and how we need to mother mothers as well so that they can be the best mums they can. It's like teachers need the same mothering and the same frameworks to support them so that they can actually look after our kids and educate our kids as best as possible.
Yep. Check in on your teacher friends, pal, and be nice to your teachers. The educators have a lot on their plates.
Yeah.